Imagine a predator that dwarfed the mighty Tyrannosaurus, yet swam through ancient rivers with the lethal grace of a crocodile. Upon its back, it carried a spectacular sail of bone and skin, a structure that rose higher than a standing man. This is no creature of fantasy. This is Spinosaurus, the most enigmatic hunter of the Cretaceous period. For over a century, it has haunted the field of paleontology, a ghost in the fossil record that has forced scientists to rewrite their textbooks no fewer than 5 times. 112 million years ago, in the vast swampy riverlands of what is now North Africa, this animal reigned. Its story is one of tragic loss, dogged persistence, and discoveries so profound they continue to shake the foundations of our understanding. The saga began in 1911, within Egypt's Bahariya Formation. An Austrian fossil collector, Richard Markgraf, unearthed a collection of strange bones, distinguished by impossibly long spines. He sent them to his contemporary, the German paleontologist Ernst Stromer. By 1915, the world was introduced to Spinosaurus aegyptiacus, the spined lizard from Egypt. The specimen was fragmentary but tantalizing. Pieces of a jaw, 20 conical teeth, and the astonishing neural spines, measuring over 1.65 meters in length. But this glimpse into a lost world was soon extinguished by the violence of the modern one. The bones were housed in Munich's Paleontological Museum. On a fateful night in April 1944, a Royal Air Force bombing raid struck the city. A single bomb found the museum, and in the ensuing inferno, the world's only known Spinosaurus specimen was incinerated, completely destroyed. All that survived were Stromer's detailed drawings and descriptions. A unique creature, erased from existence for a second time. For nearly 70 years, scientists were left to chase a phantom. Stromer's own 1936 reconstruction was a strange, almost comical figure, Stan. This was the Spinosaurus of old textbooks, an awkward monster born from fragmented data. The breakthrough came not from Egypt, but from elsewhere in Africa and Europe. The discovery of its relatives, Baryonyx and Suchomimus, finally revealed the true shape of its head, long, slender, and perfectly crocodilian. Then, as the 20th century closed, new fragments began to emerge from the rocks of Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. A neck vertebra found in 1996 hinted at its immense size, but it was the discovery of a moor. This was no land-based hunter that occasionally waded. This was a river monster, an animal more at home in the water than on the shore. The debate among paleontologists today rages with a passion as if Spinosaurus still roams the earth just beyond our window. It serves as a powerful, humbling reminder that the past is not a settled story. It is a living puzzle where a single bone, pulled from the silence of the stone, can shatter our most fundamental assumptions and reveal a world far stranger and more magnificent than we could ever have conceived. For decades, it was a ghost, a half-remembered nightmare, pieced together from fragments destroyed in the firestorms of the Second World War. Spinosaurus aegyptiacus. For years, it was imagined as little more than a peculiar variation of its land-bound cousins, a slightly stranger Tyrannosaurus with a magnificent, enigmatic sail. This was the titan of the terrestrial world, a predator that stalked the shorelines. But this comfortable image was destined to be shattered. The first tremor came in the year 2005. From the sun-scorched earth of Morocco, a colossal fragment of a jaw was unearthed, measuring nearly a meter in length. Extrapolating from this single, magnificent piece, paleontologists sketched the outline of a terrifying specter. The skull alone, they calculated, could have reached a staggering 175 centimeters. The creature it belonged to would have stretched 16, perhaps even 18 meters from snout to tail, weighing an estimated 7 to 9 tons. It was a predator on a scale that defied imagination. Yet the true revolution in our understanding was still nearly a decade away. The year is 2014. The protagonist of our story is Nizar Ibrahim, a paleontologist from the University of Chicago, a man often described as a true Indiana Jones of science. His adventure began not in a pristine dig site, but in the shadowy world of the fossil trade. He purchased a collection of strange bones from an illegal dealer in Mahimsensed, with the instinct of a seasoned explorer that these were not just any fossils. They were a key. His quest led him to Italian colleagues who, by a stroke of fate, had also acquired bones from black market diggers, bones with the same distinctive coloration. A theory began to form. These scattered fragments belonged to a single, extraordinary skeleton. Together, they made a pact. They would find the source. They returned to the Moroccan oasis of Erfoud, a gateway to the ancient river systems known as the Kem beds. Armed with only whispers and fragmented memories from local diggers, they began their search. And against all odds, in 2013, they found it. The tomb of the river god. Under the auspices of the National Geographic Society, a full-scale excavation began. What they pulled from the rock and sand would not just add to the story of Spinosaurus, it would rewrite it entirely. The partial skeleton, belonging to a subadult, revealed a creature utterly alien to the world of theropod dinosaurs. Its hind legs were short, shockingly, disproportionately so for such a giant. This was not the chassis of a bipedal pursuit predator. Its center of gravity was not balanced over the hips, as in all other known theropods, but shifted far forward. The bones of its limbs were dense and solid, lacking the hollow cavities of its land-dwelling relatives, a crucial adaptation for control. And then there were the feet. They were a Rosetta Stone of bone. All 4 toes touched the ground, and the innermost toe, the hallux, was the longest of all. Its claws were not the curved, slashing talons of a raptor, but flat and broad, perfectly suited for paddling through mud or pushing off from a riverbed. The evidence was overwhelming. Ibrahim and his team proposed a hypothesis so daring it sent shockwaves through the paleontological community. Spinosaurus was not a land animal that visited the water. It was a water animal, a semi-aquatic predator that moved with quadrupedal awkwardness on land, but found its true grace in the ancient rivers. Its high-set nostrils, elongated neck, and dense bones all pointed to a life spent hunting the giant fish of the Cretaceous. The scientific world erupted in a firestorm of debate, a clash of excitement and fierce criticism. But Ibrahim was not finished. In 2018, his team found a minuscule phalanx, a single toe bone measuring just 2.1 centimeters. It belonged to a Spinosaurus hatchling, no more than 1.8 meters long. And this tiny infant already possessed the distinct aquatic adaptations of the adults. They were born for the water, ready to swim from their first day. Then came the final, unbelievable revelation. In 2020, Ibrahim published his findings on the tail of Spinosaurus. Incredibly, it belonged to the very same individual unearthed in 2014. The tail was a biological marvel, a deep, flattened structure powered by impossibly long neural spines. It was not a tail for balance. It was a paddle, robotic model of the tail, and tested its propulsive power. The results were definitive. This organic engine generated 8 times more thrust than the tails of 10. Yet the story does not end in simple consensus. In 2021, paleontologists Thomas Holtz and David Hone published a counter-analysis, challenging the aquatic hypothesis. They argued the creature was an awkward swimmer at best. The massive sail, they contended, would create immense drag. The tail, they believed, was too stiff for efficient propulsion, and the animal's overall body density would have made diving a clumsy, difficult affair. The story of Spinosaurus is not merely about a dinosaur. It is a testament to the relentless, unfolding nature of scientific discovery, where a single, reddish bone from a Moroccan desert can topple a century of accepted truth. The creature itself remains a beautiful paradox, a chimera of land and water, a predator that challenges our very definition of what a dinosaur could be. It exists now in the vibrant space of debate, a magnificent enigma still swimming in the depths of time, waiting for the next discovery to reveal yet another of its secrets. The prevailing image was, for a time, one of patient stillness. A colossal predator, standing knee-deep in the Cretaceous wetlands, a living echo of a modern heron. It would lower its long, sensitive snout into the murky water, the specialized receptors detecting the faintest tremor of passing fish, and then strike with lightning speed. This was the Spinosaurus of our imagination, a wading giant, a shoreline specialist. But the bones themselves whispered a different story. In the year 2022, a team led by the paleontologist Matteo Fabri interrogated the very structure of its skeleton, alongside that of its cousin, Baryonyx. Their findings were revolutionary. The bones of Spinosaurus were dense, heavily compacted, a condition known as osteosclerosis. This was not the lightweight framework of a wading bird, but the ballasted architecture of an aquatic animal, an adaptation for controlling buoyancy, for diving deep and hunting in the water column. The patient wader was suddenly reimagined as an active, submerged pursuit predator. The debate, however, was far from settled. 1 year later, in 2023, the paleontologist Paul Sereno, a central figure in the modern understanding of this dinosaur, returned to the fore. Armed with the immense power of computational fluid dynamics and meticulous digital modeling, his team unleashed a devastating critique. Their conclusion was a stark revision. Spinosaurus was indeed semi-aquatic, inextricably tied to the water, but it was a poor, inefficient swimmer. It was an ambush hunter, but one that operated from the water's edge, a creature of the threshold, entering the depths with reluctance. The culprit was its most famous feature, the sail. This magnificent structure, while visually spectacular, would have acted as a source of immense drag, making it clumsy and unstable in the water. Furthermore, its powerful-looking tail, once thought to be a propulsive paddle, lacked the musculature for sustained, powerful locomotion. The models suggested that for Spinosaurus to swim effectively, its tail would have needed to be between 15 and 25 times stronger. The current consensus, therefore, paints a portrait of a magnificent hybrid, an animal with the hunting strategy of a heron and the powerful, shore-bound presence of a grizzly bear. It was a master of the riverbanks, a specialist in fish that was nevertheless formidable on solid ground. To gaze upon its reconstructed form is to witness an animal that defies simple categorization. It was a creature stretching 15 meters from snout to tail, the longest predatory dinosaur known to science. Its skull, a masterpiece of specialized evolution, measured around 112 centimeters in a fully grown adult. It was narrow and elongated, strikingly similar to that of a modern garrote. Within these jaws lay a perfect trap. The front of the upper jaw held 6 or 7 teeth, with another 12 set further back on each side. These were not cal and smooth, ideal instruments for impaling and securing slippery, struggling prey. The second and third teeth on each side were noticeably larger than the rest, creating a distinctive notch or diastema into which the lower teeth would lock, forming an unyielding grip. And then there was the sail. This incredible structure of elongated neural spines began in the shoulder region, rose to its maximum height of over 1.5 meters above the pelvis, and then fell away sharply towards the tail. Its true purpose remains one of paleontology's great debates. Was it a biological radiator? A vast surface to be angled towards the sun for rapid warming, or turned to the breeze for cooling? Was it a fatty hump, a reservoir and the fish grew scarce? Or was its function one of pure display, a dramatic signal to attract mates and intimidate rivals in a world of giants? Some have even speculated it case. Its forelimbs were not the diminutive arms of other large theropods. They were powerful, equipped with immense curved claws, perfect for holding on to a thrashing 10-foot fish. They may have also provided support, allowing the animal to walk or crouch on all fours. The hind limbs were proportionally short, ending in wide, flat feet that seemed made for walking on soft, yielding mud. Here, another anatomical curiosity emerges. The first toe, the hallux, which in most theropods was a small vestigial digit held off the ground, was the longest and most robust in Spinosaurus. It was fully articulated with the ground, providing a broader, more stable footprint, the foot of an animal perfectly at home on the treacherous banks of a river. To understand this animal, we must resurrect its world. 100.5 million years ago, during the mid-Cretaceous, North Africa was a hothouse planet. The continent was just beginning its slow tectonic divorce from South America, the nascent Atlantic Ocean a narrow seaway between them. The climate was hot and humid, dominated by vast, languid river systems and sprawling coastal swims of characters. Yet direct conflict seems to have been rare. Niche partitioning allowed these titans to coexist. The primary quarry for Spinosaurus was not other dinosaurs, but the giants of the river, especially the human-sized, armor-plated coelacanth known as Mawsonia. Spinosaurus remains a ghost, assembled from scattered fragments, a story told in stone and code, constantly being rewritten. Each new fossil, each new analysis, shifts our perception of this singular beast. It is a testament not to certainty, but to the thrilling, ever-evolving nature of scientific inquiry. A creature of the threshold, not just between land and water, but between what we know and what we have yet to discover. The river systems of ancient North Africa were a realm of giants. Here, 100 million years ago, the water itself was the source of life and of spectacular death. The depths teemed with primeval creatures, a mirum a formidable weapon in its own right. Lurking nearby was Squalicorax, a shark reaching lengths of 2 meters, a swift and opportunistic hunter of the Cretaceous waterways. And then there was Encotus, the saber-toothed herring, a predatory fish whose enormous fangs gave it a fearsome, almost vampiric appearance. For decades, the diet of the great river king Spinosaurus was a matter of inference. But in the fossil record, the truth is sometimes written in bone. One extraordinary specimen, a fragment of a Spinosaurus jaw, held a secret locked within it for millennia. The fossilized vertebra of an Onchopristis jammed immovably between its conical teeth. It was the ultimate proof, a direct testament to a violent encounter between predator and prey, forever capturing the last meal of a river monster. This was not a simple world. The Moroccan geological tapestry, known as the Kimkim Formation, reveals an ecosystem of breathtaking complexity and danger. Above the sprawling rivers, the skies were dominated by Ajdarchids, giant pterosaurs with wingspans stretching up to humid air. On the shorelines, the ground trembled under the weight of Rabacosaurids, long-necked sauropods that stripped vegetation from the riverbanks, while rare, bird-hipped dinosaurs moved cautiously through the fern. and the competition was fierce. This was a land of carnivores. The apex land predator was the mighty Carcharodontosaurus, a theropod that rivaled Tyrannosaurus in size. Abelisaurids, eosaurs, hunted in the undergrowth. The water's edge was the domain of crocodiles, a diverse and lethal assembly, including the terrestrial Ararapasuchus and the immense, long-snouted Laganosuchus. In this brutal theater, how did Spinosaurus carve out its throne? The modern scientific consensus paints a mesmerizing picture of specialized predation. Imagine the scene. The colossal animal would not charge, but wade. It moved slowly, deliberately into the murky water, submerging itself to its knees, sometimes to its belly. It would then lower where perforated with a network of P were sophisticated pressure receptors, capable of detecting the faintest vibrations in the water. The subtle disturbance of a passing fish, the flick of a distant. Then, the moment of truth. A fish swims by. In a blur of motion, a lightning-fast sideways jerk of the head, the jaws snap shut. The straight, conical teeth were not for shearing flesh, but for impaling it. A cage of daggers ensuring the slippery prey could not escape. The force of this bite was immense, 4,829 newtons at the front teeth, and a staggering 11,936 newtons at the back. For comparison, a modern Nile crocodile, an apex predator of today, generates a force of around 5,000 newtons. Yet, to label Spinosaurus a mere fish eater would be to underestimate its adaptability. A landmark study of its close relative, Baryonyx, uncovered the remains of a young iguanodon within its stomach cavity. This suggests that when opportunity knocked, these animals were not exclusively piscivores. During the brutal dry seasons, as the rivers receded and the fish became sin, riverbed or actively hunting small dinosaurs and unwary pterosaurs that ventured too close to the water. It was the great bear of the Cretaceous, a master of both land and water, shifting its diet with the rhythm of the season. This punishing lifestyle took a toll on its primary weapon, its teeth. Histological analysis reveals an evolutionary masterstroke. The teeth of Spinosaurus grew at an astonishing rate. In an adult, a new tooth could fully form in just 8 to 9 months. In juveniles, the process was even faster. For an animal of its sheer size, this rate of replacement was a record. Worn down and broken by the tough scales and bones of its prey, its teeth were constantly replenished, ensuring its deadly bite was always at peak efficiency. But how did this giant move? For years, all theropods were depicted as bipedal, walking on 2 powerful hind legs. But the anatomy of Spinosaurus defied this convention. Its hind limbs were surprisingly short, and its center of gravity was shifted far forward. This forced paleontologists to reconsider everything. Perhaps on land it was no graceful strider, but instead leaned on its powerful forelimbs, moving with a lumbering quadrupedal gait. In the water, rents. More recent studies suggest it may have been capable of walking on 2 legs, but it would have been clumsy and slow. A giant out of its element, always yearning for the water. This semi-aquatic life began at birth. The smallest known Spinosaurus fossil is a single phalanx, a toe bone just 2 centimeters long. It belonged to a hatchling, perhaps no more than 1 meter 80 centimeters in length. Even in this tiny infant, the hallmarks of its future life were already present. Flattened claws and a unique foot structure, perfectly designed for a world lived at the water's edge. It was born not to rule the land, but to conquer the river. From its first breath, it was destined for the water, a creature perfectly and bizarrely sculpted by its environment, a testament to a time when the lines between land and sea were blurred and monsters reigned. The ancient river systems of North Africa, 100 million years ago. Here, a predator was born not into a world of two re. The young of Spinosaurus knew no terrestrial stage. From the moment they hatched, they were creatures of the river, their bodies already tuned to an aquatic existence. Evidence of this lost dynasty is etched into the very bedrock of a continent. From the sun-scorched landscapes of Egypt and Morocco to the arid expanses of Algeria and Tunisia, its fossilized remains lie scattered, silent witnesses to a reign that spanned millions of years. Questionable fragments have even surfaced as far south as Kenya and Niger, hinting at a dominion far greater than we can prove. But a discovery in Libya whispers of an even deeper history. Bones that may belong to Spinosaurus, yet are dated to the twilight of the Jurassic and the dawn of the Cretaceous. If this proves true, the lineage of this river king is unimaginably ancient, stretching back far beyond our previous understanding. Yet this vast African range presents a profound enigma. During this era, Africa and South America were still joined, vast landmasses locked in a slow continental dance. But in the rich fossil beds of South America, Spinosaurus is absent. Not a single tooth, not one vertebra has ever been found. The reason may lie in the inexorable forces of geology. By the end of the Albian Age, the nascent Atlantic Ocean, once a shallow seaway, may have deepened into an impassable marine barrier, a chasm of open water too vast for even this semi-aquatic giant to cross. Our entire understanding of this creature is built upon a foundation of fragments. The fossil record is cruelly incomplete. No full skeleton of Spinosaurus has ever been unearthed. Instead, paleontologists are left with a colossal puzzle. Isolated teeth, massive vertebrae, and shattered pieces of jaw. To reconstruct the whole, they must look to its closest relatives, extrapolating and inferring, filling the vast gaps in its anatomy with educated guesswork. This process is a fertile ground for debate, a constant source of scientific friction. It begs the question, what if our vision of Spinosaurus is entirely wrong? This uncertainty has given rise to a gallery of strange and exotic interpretations. In 2013, the Portuguese artist Rodrigo Veiga proposed a truly radical reconstruction. He stripped the dinosaur of its iconic sail, replacing it with a massive hump of fat, and gifted it a small, sensitive proboscis. The logic, though unconventional, was rooted in survival. In a climate prone to devastating drought, a fat reserve would be essential when the rivers ran dry and the fish disappeared. The trunk, he argued, would be a sensitive tool for probing the murky water for hidden prey. Taking this biological speculation a step further, the German artist Adrian Wimmer envisioned a creature that had all but abandoned the land, rendering Spinosaurus as a prehistoric analog to a marine elephant, a behemoth with flippers for limbs and a powerful tail fluke to propel its bulk through the water. While these speculative visions never gained traction in the scientific community, they were spectacular feats of imagination, illustrating just how much of this animal remains a mystery. The debate over its sheer size has been its own long and dramatic saga. Early estimates placed it at a formidable 12 meters in length. Then, as more fossils came to light, that figure grew to 15. The discovery of an enormous jaw fragment in 2005 pushed the boundaries even further, prompting claims of a 16-meter titan weighing between 7 and 9 tons. Some researchers, extrapolating from the immense proportions, even calculated a staggering weight of 20 tons. But science is a process of correction. Later analysis revealed that the initial methodologies were flawed. The numbers were revised, settling on a more sober, yet still immense, 15 meters in length and a weight of around 12 tons. To place this in perspective, The largest tyrannosaurs reached approximately 12.5 meters and weighed 9 tons. Spinosaurus was longer, a creature of superior length, but it was also more gracile, a predator built for water, not for brute force on land. The story of Spinosaurus is a testament to the fluid, ever-changing nature of paleontology. Each new bone reshapes our understanding. In 1915, it was imagined as an upright, sail-backed carnivore, a classic monster of its time. By the 1980s, it had transformed into a bipedal hunt discovery of at home in the water than on land. And yet, a competing theory persists, that it was a semi-aquatic ambush predator, a poor swimmer that waited patiently in the shallows. What new identity will it assume in another 10 years? This scientific pursuit is shadowed by a dark and illicit trade. Spinosaurus has become a victim of its own fame, its bones a prized commodity on the black market. In Morocco, local diggers unearth its remains, not for science but for profit, selling them to private collectors around the world. This creates a painful paradox. Without these fossil hunters, many crucial discoveries might have remained buried forever, yet their methods destroy invaluable geological context. In 2005, this shadowy world broke into the light when a Spinosaurus skull was offered at a Paris auction house for €250,000. The specimen, however, was a fraud, a composite skull artfully assembled from the casts and fragments of multiple different individuals. The Paris Museum of Natural History eventually acquired the piece for a vastly reduced €81,000, not as a pristine specimen, but as a cautionary tale. The creature remains an enigma, a shifting silhouette against the backdrop of deep time. It is less a single defined animal and more a reflection of our own quest for knowledge. A magnificent beast constructed from scattered bones, fierce debate, and the enduring power of human imagination. Its true form may forever be lost to the past, leaving us with the profound realization that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but to be endlessly explored. In the end, after meticulous study, the transaction was abandoned. The bones were too strange, the story too incomplete. Today, Spinosaurus stands as a powerful symbol of science itself, a testament to its constant, restless evolution. What was held as truth yesterday may be revealed as error tomorrow. And in this process of correction, there is a profound beauty. Each new discovery, each re-examined fossil, brings us a step closer to truly understanding the world of the Cretaceous. Picture the scene. A scorching North African sun beats down on a vast network of murky, life-giving rivers. Along the banks, a giant wanders, a magnificent sail of skin and bone rising from its spine. It lowers explosive speed. A fish, itself the size of a grown man, is trapped within its conical teeth. Above, pterosaurs with the wingspan of small aircraft circle in the hazy sky. In the distance, the roar of a Carcharodontosaurus echoes, a 10-ton bush waiting for any creature careless enough to stray too close. It was a world of titans, and Spinosaurus was among its most bizarre and wondrous inhabitants. Yet, the most staggering truth is that we still do not know the whole story. Perhaps, buried deep within the Saharan sands, a complete skeleton lies in silent repose. It might hold the answers to all. This is the very nature of paleontology. It is a science where a single shovelful of earth can overturn generations of consensus. The search is not for dusty bones in a museum, but a detective story written in stone. A saga of academic disputes, black market dealings, and desperate chases after illegal fossil hunters in the Moroccan desert. It is the story of a handful of enthusiasts, painstakingly piecing together the ghosts of creatures that lived hundreds of millions of years ago. creatures so strange they defy human invention. For the Spinosaurus, there are no descendants. Its entire lineage vanished at the end of the Cenomanian age, some 93 million years ago. The reasons remain shrouded in mystery. Perhaps the climate shifted, the great rivers drying to dust. Perhaps more efficient crocodilian competitors usurped its throne. Or perhaps a localized cataclysm simply wiped its world away. But for the time it existed, it was one of the most successful predators of its era. Its story is a reminder that our past is a gallery of forgotten worlds, each more alien than the last, and our understanding is but a flickering candle in a vast, dark hall.